Hello, my dear friends. How are you feeling today? Have you ever noticed that sometimes the home, which should be our fortress, our quiet haven where we rest body and soul, suddenly seems to work against us? As if invisible threads are pulling our energy, leaving us feeling tired and with an inexplicable heaviness, even after a night's sleep. This isn't just imagination or age-related, as many are accustomed to thinking. Over the years, our body becomes wiser, but also more sensitive. It reacts more acutely to its surroundings, and some familiar things in our home, alas, can subtly undermine our health and accelerate the aging process, not only physically, but also mentally and emotionally. This happens because our inner energy, our life force, is intricately connected to the space we live in. Stagnation, negative memories, lack of light and fresh air. All these can create invisible barriers to our well-being. Think, for example, about that pile of old bills or papers on the table that causes a slight feeling of anxiety every time you look at them. It's like a small pebble in your shoe, constantly making it harder to walk easily. Or think about that dark corner in the room where the sun rarely reaches and dust accumulates. It can feel like a small black hole, absorbing the space's energy. But don't rush to get upset. I'm here to share simple, accessible, and absolutely achievable tips on how to restore your home to its true role, a place of strength, health, and youthfulness for body and soul. We will go through several points together, and you will see how small changes in your environment can lead to huge positive shifts in your well-being. More lightness, clearer thoughts, a calmer soul, a better mood. I promise, no complex esoteric practices, just common sense, a little attention to yourself and your space. Stay with me until the end, and you'll learn how to make your home a true ally in maintaining vigor and health for many, many years to come. So, let's start with something you can't always touch, but which is felt very strongly, the energy of things connected to the past. After all, our home is not just walls, it's a keeper of our memories. And the first point is items that constantly remind you of difficult times, losses, or resentments. These could be old photographs that evoke sadness, gifts from people associated with unpleasant memories, or belongings of deceased loved ones that don't bring gentle sorrow, but rather pull you back into a state of grief and immobility. We hold on to these things out of a sense of duty, guilt, or simply habit, unaware that, like anchors, they keep us tethered to the past and prevent our souls from moving forward, from renewing. It's like wearing old, uncomfortable clothes just because they were once expensive. They restrict movement and don't allow you to feel light. Emotional pain, constantly fueled by such reminders, creates chronic stress, which depletes our vital energy and literally accelerates aging at the cellular level. Let me tell you the story of Helen. She is 72 years old. A few years ago, Helen lost her husband, with whom she had lived for almost half a century. His study remained untouched, books, papers, even a cup on the desk. Every time she entered or simply passed by, Helen felt the sharp pain of loss, and tears welled up. She felt stuck in this grief, but the thought of removing or changing anything seemed like a betrayal of her husband's memory. "I can't. It's all I have left," she told her children, although deep down she understood that this shrine was preventing her from living on, enjoying her grandchildren, finding new meanings. She felt like a bird in a cage, made of precious memories. One day, her close friend, seeing her state, very gently suggested, "Helen, what if you keep only what brings you warmth and bright memories? 1 or 2 photos, his favorite book in a prominent place, and the rest, not throw it away, no, but pack it up with love and gratitude and put it away, or maybe give something to those who could use it." Helen resisted for a long time, but then she decided. Together with her daughter, they carefully sorted through her husband's things. Some were donated to a charity foundation, others were carefully packed in boxes and stored in the attic. Helen kept the warmest memories for herself, a photo album, a couple of favorite books. She remodeled the study into a bright room for needlework, her longtime hobby. And a miracle happened. The tears didn't disappear completely, but the pain became lighter, transformed into quiet sadness and gratitude for the years lived together. Helen felt as if a huge weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She had more energy, started smiling more often, and her interest in life returned. Why is this important? Our emotional state directly affects our physical health. Stuck negative emotions create energy blockages, hindering the free circulation of life energy, known in the East as Qi or prana. By freeing our space from items carrying a heavy emotional charge, we free ourselves. We don't forget the past, but we stop living in it. It's like taking off a heavy backpack after a long journey. It immediately becomes easier to walk. For you, this means reduced stress levels, improved emotional background, a surge of strength and energy, a feeling of lightness and renewal, which positively affects the entire body. Transition. Having freed ourselves from the emotional anchors of the past, which can be physically present in the form of things, it's worth paying attention to how the space of our home itself is organized. After all, not only individual items can carry heaviness, but entire zones of stagnation, both physical and energetic, reigns there. Yes, exactly. The second point relates to how energy moves, or doesn't move, in our home. We're talking about dark, cluttered corners, rarely used rooms, or areas where dust and old things accumulate. Think about whether you have such a forgotten corner behind a wardrobe, a balcony turned into a storage space for junk, or a room you only enter to clean. From the perspective of space energetics, and even common sense, such zones create stagnation. Energy, like fresh air, must circulate freely. Where it stagnates, heaviness accumulates, which can affect the general well-being of the residents, causing apathy, lack of energy, a feeling of being stuck in a swamp in life. It's like a pond with stagnant water. Over time, it gets covered with duckweed and loses its freshness, unlike a babbling brook. Just as the emotional burden of the past weighs us down, physical clutter and neglected corners of the house can create a feeling of heaviness and immobility. I remember Michael. He is 75 years old. He lived in a large house, but actually only used the kitchen, living room, and bedroom. 2 other rooms were filled with old furniture, boxes of belongings from his children, who had long since grown up and moved out, and some broken appliances. The doors to these rooms were almost always closed. Michael often complained of fatigue, lack of motivation to do anything, saying that life has somehow frozen. He didn't connect this to the state of his house, simply thinking that age is taking its toll. The thought of clearing out these rooms made him feel down and seemed like an overwhelming task. Why? I have enough space as it is, he would say. His son, visiting him, offered to help clear out at least one of these rooms. They decided to start with the smaller one. They took out an old wardrobe, sorted through boxes, throwing much away, donating some, washed the windows, and hung light curtains. The room was transformed. Light flooded in. It became more spacious. Michael initially treated it as his son's project, but then he started going into the room himself, put an armchair there, and began reading there in the evenings. And he noticed a change in himself. He had more energy, became more active, even started planning a short trip. He admitted that the house felt lighter, and so did he, as if a fresh wind had blown not only into the room, but also into his life. Why does this work? A free, clean, well-lit space promotes the free circulation of energy. By removing physical clutter and allowing light and air access, we symbolically and energetically remove blockages in our lives as well. This creates a feeling of renewal, movement, and an influx of fresh energy. It's like clearing a clogged pipe. The water flows freely again. For you, this means improved mood, increased energy levels and motivation, a feeling of freshness and renewal in life, a lighter and more pleasant atmosphere in the home. So, we've talked about how important it is to free the home from the burden of the past and physical stagnation so that energy can circulate freely within. But the atmosphere in the house is influenced not only by what is inside, but also by what we let in from the outside. And here lies another trap capable of subtly aging us. Yes, we are talking about the third accelerator of aging that has settled in many homes, the constant flow of negative information from the television or the internet. News about disasters, crises, diseases, political battles, crime reports. It seems like we are just keeping our finger on the pulse. But in reality, we are voluntarily opening the doors of our home and our consciousness to anxiety and stress. When the TV runs in the background all day, or we spend hours scrolling through news feeds, our brain and nervous system become overloaded with negativity. We are constantly in a state of mild anxiety, often without realizing it. This chronic stress increases cortisol levels, weakens the immune system, worsens sleep, and affects mood. It's like living next to a constantly blaring siren. You get used to it over time, but the nervous system still gets depleted. We literally age from worrying about the whole world, losing precious energy that could be directed towards our own health and joy, towards creating that very light and free atmosphere at home we just talked about. Meet Agnes. She is 70 years old. Agnes was a very responsible person and considered it her duty to watch all the news programs to know what's going on. Her TV was on from morning till night. She often discussed alarming news with her friends, worried, slept poorly, and felt constant tension and anxiety. The world is going to hell in a handbasket, she often sighed. She didn't realize that she was creating this atmosphere of anxiety herself, considering watching the news a necessity. It seemed to her that if she stopped watching, she would fall out of life. Her grandson, concerned about her condition, suggested an experiment. Limit watching the news to 30 minutes a day at a specific time, and for the rest of the time, replace the TV background with something else. Calm music, audiobooks, or just silence. Agnes agreed reluctantly, afraid of missing something important. The first few days felt unusually quiet. Her hand reached for the remote. But she started listening to classical music, which she loved in her youth, and began rereading her favorite books. And after a couple of weeks, she noticed amazing changes. Her anxiety disappeared, her sleep became deeper, her mood improved. She realized that she was still aware of the main events, but had stopped stewing in negativity around the clock. She felt calmer and younger. The world hadn't stopped being complex, but her perception of it had changed. Why is dosing information important? Our brain doesn't always distinguish between a real threat and one shown on screen. The constant flow of negativity keeps our fight or flight system on high alert, which wears out the body. By limiting this flow, we give our nervous system a chance to rest and recover. By creating a positive or neutral background, music, nature, silence, we help ourselves maintain inner balance. It's like choosing quality food for the body. We also need to choose quality food for the mind and soul. For you, this means reduce stress and anxiety levels, improve sleep and mood, conservation of mental energy, a more positive outlook on life. Transition. By limiting the flow of negative information from the outside, we create more space for tranquility. But what if this tranquility turns into the silence of loneliness? After all, it's not just external information that affects us, but also the absence of an important external factor, living human connection. And this is our next point. The fourth point concerns not so much things, but the atmosphere in the house related to our social interaction. We are talking about a lack of live communication, a feeling of loneliness and isolation, even if you don't live alone. With age, the social circle can shrink. Friends pass away, children and grandchildren are busy with their own lives. It becomes harder to leave the house. The home can turn from a cozy nest into a place of confinement, and the silence we created by removing informational noise can become oppressive. Loneliness is not just sad, it's a health risk factor comparable to smoking or obesity. It increases stress levels, contributes to depression, impairs cognitive functions, and weakens the immune system. Humans are social creatures. We need communication, a sense of connection with other people, to maintain mental and physical health. It's like a plant needing not only water, but also sunlight to grow and bloom fully. The atmosphere of the home directly depends on whether it is filled with the sounds of lively conversation, laughter, the warmth of human connections. Let's remember Robert. He is 80 years old. After his wife's death, Robert lived alone. His children called regularly, but lived far away. He rarely left the house, spending most of his time watching TV or just sitting by the window. He felt very lonely, useless, often sad, and lost interest in everything. Who needs me at my age, he thought. It was difficult for him to initiate communication himself. He felt he would only be a burden or imposing. His home became quiet and lifeless, just like his inner state. One day, a neighbor, seeing his depressed state, invited him to join a local interest club for seniors, which met once a week at the nearby library. They played board games, discussed books, and simply chatted over a cup of tea. Robert initially refused, feeling shy, but the neighbor was persistent. With great difficulty, he forced himself to go, and it changed his life. He met people with similar interests, made new friends, and felt part of a community again. He began looking forward to these meetings, preparing for them. He returned home animated, with new topics to discuss with his children on the phone. His home ceased to be a place of loneliness. It became a place where he returned after interesting interactions to rest and gather strength for new encounters. Why is communication so important? A sense of belonging, the opportunity to share thoughts and feelings, to laugh together. All this reduces stress, stimulates the brain, improves mood, and gives a sense of meaning to life. Live communication, or even regular communication by phone or video call, helps us feel needed, loved, and alive. It's like lubricant for a mechanism. It helps all parts work smoothly and prevents wear and tear. For you, this means improved mood and emotional state, prevention of depression, support for cognitive functions, strengthening of the immune system, a feeling of fullness of life. Transition. When we fill our lives and our homes with communication, we feel more alive. And what else makes our home truly alive and bright? Of course, natural light and fresh air. And it is precisely their lack that can become another factor subtly undermining our strength. Yes, the fifth point is directly related to the physical environment of our home, but also has a profound impact on our mental state, which we just discussed. This is the lack of natural sunlight and fresh air. Heavy dark curtains that are rarely opened, cluttered windowsills preventing light from entering the room, infrequent airing. We might think it's cozier or warmer this way, but in reality, we are depriving ourselves of two powerful natural antidepressants and energy sources. Sunlight is necessary for the production of vitamin D, important for bones, immunity, and mood, and serotonin, the happiness hormone. Lack of light can lead to seasonal affective disorder, apathy, and poor sleep. Fresh air cleans the room of accumulated pollutants, dust, carbon dioxide, emissions from furniture, etc., saturates the blood with oxygen, improves concentration, and provides a feeling of alertness. A home filled with light and fresh air feels more alive, welcoming. It's easier to breathe and maintain a good mood and vitality. Living in a dark, unventilated space is like trying to grow a flower in a dark closet without air access. Let me tell you about Claire. She is 77 years old. Claire always preferred dim light in her home. Her apartment windows faced the sunny side, but she almost always kept the curtains drawn. It's too bright, and the furniture fades, she would say. She also rarely aired the rooms, fearing drafts. Lately, she had noticed a lack of energy, a bad mood for no apparent reason, and daytime sleepiness. She felt sluggish and dull, like her houseplants on the dark windowsill. She attributed it to the weather or her age, but not to the environment in her home. Her doctor, among other recommendations, advised her to open the curtains more often and regularly air the rooms, at least for 10 to 15 minutes in the morning and evening. Claire was skeptical, but decided to try. She started opening the curtains in the mornings, letting sunlight into the room. She opened the windows, even if it was cool outside, simply dressing warmer. And within a week, she felt the difference. The morning light gave her a boost of energy. Her mood noticeably improved. Fresh air chased away the sleepiness. She noticed she felt more energetic, and even her complexion improved. The house seemed to come alive, filled with light and air, and she came alive with it. Why are light and air so important? They are basic needs of our body. Natural light regulates our internal clocks, influences the production of hormones responsible for alertness and sleep. Fresh air is necessary for the normal functioning of the brain and all body systems. It's like fuel and oxygen for an engine. Without them, it won't work efficiently. For you, this means improved mood, a surge of energy, increased productivity, better sleep quality, strengthened immunity, a general feeling of freshness and vitality. Transition. We have filled the house with light, air, gotten rid of stagnation and negative external influences, tried to fill it with live communication. Everything seems wonderful. But there is one more factor that we create ourselves and which can negate all our efforts to create a healthy atmosphere. This is how we speak and think within the walls of our home. And the last, sixth point concerns not physical objects, but the atmosphere we create with our thoughts and words within the walls of our home. This is the habit of constantly complaining, grumbling, focusing on the bad, and discussing only problems and illnesses. Even if we live in the brightest and cleanest house, but constantly fill it with words of discontent and despondency, we ourselves create a heavy, oppressive atmosphere. Of course, everyone has difficulties, and sometimes you need to vent. But when discontent becomes the background of life, when conversations, with oneself or others, revolve only around what hurts, who offended, how bad everything is, this literally poisons the space around us and ourselves. Our thoughts and words have energy. Constant negativity attracts more negativity according to the principle like attracts like, and programs our brain to look for problems, not solutions or joys. It's like constantly listening to sad, dreary music. Sooner or later, your mood will spoil, even if there are no objective reasons for sadness. Chronic negativity accelerates aging by weakening the spirit and body, making us more susceptible to illness and despondency. Let's remember Norman. He is 79 years old. Norman was a good man, but had a habit of constantly complaining about something: the weather, his health, the government, the neighbors. He would steer any conversation towards his ailments or how things were better before. His wife and children tried to support him, but interacting with him often left them feeling tired and dejected. Norman himself felt unhappy, misunderstood, and constantly tired. It seemed to him that he really had plenty of reasons for dissatisfaction, and he didn't notice how he himself was creating and maintaining this reality with his thoughts and words. One day, his granddaughter gave him a gratitude journal, a beautiful notebook, and asked him to write down at least 3 things he was grateful for each day. It could be something simple: a tasty dinner, a ray of sunshine, a call from a friend, a good purchase. Norman initially dismissed it. What nonsense! What do I have to be grateful for? But not wanting to offend his granddaughter, he started making entries. At first, it was difficult. He struggled to find those 3 points, but gradually, he began to notice more good things in his life. He started paying attention to small things he had previously ignored. He complained less because his focus shifted. After a month, he noticed he felt calmer, kinder, and even physically a little better. The atmosphere in the house became lighter, and interacting with him became more pleasant for his loved ones. Why does the practice of gratitude work? It retunes our brain to look for the positive. When we consciously seek out the good and express gratitude, we change our body's biochemistry. Stress hormone levels decrease, joy hormone levels increase. We begin to notice that there is much more good in our lives than bad. This creates an upward spiral of positivity that improves both mental and physical well-being. It's like tuning a radio to a station with good music instead of static. For you, this means improved mood, reduced stress, a more optimistic outlook on life, improved relationships with loved ones, a feeling of greater fullness and meaning in life, which contributes to longevity and spiritual health. So, we have gone through 6 important aspects, from items holding memories and physical space, to information flows, communication, light, air, and finally, the power of our own words and thoughts. As you can see, everything is interconnected. By creating harmony in one area, we help establish it in another. Our home is indeed a reflection of ourselves, and at the same time, it actively influences our state. You have lived a long, rich life, accumulated invaluable experience and wisdom. You deserve for your home to be a place of strength, joy, and peace, supporting your health and youthful spirit. Don't let invisible factors, whether old resentments, clutter, information noise, loneliness, lack of light, or the habit of negativity, rob you of energy and the joy of life. Start small, choose one point that resonated with you the most, and try to make changes today or tomorrow. Remember, every small step towards a more harmonious and healthy environment is a step towards a better quality, longer, and brighter life. You are strong. You are wise. You can do it. Your happiness and well-being are in your hands, and your home can and should become your best ally on this path. May your golden years truly shine with health, peace, and fullness of life. Take care of yourself and the light within your soul.